Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much. I hope you have enjoy your break. You've had a nice coffee, tea, faluda, whatever it is that you enjoy. We're talking about the election and the aftermath of the election, and what the expectation both of the councillors who have been selected and elected and the community is going to be. I've been told we've got a caller online. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can I have your name and where you're calling from, please?
Hello, it's me. Hi, it's me, Councillor Adam Zaman from Bali East.
Adam Zaman, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Yes, sir. What would you like to say?
From Bali East, I really want to resign and join the independents. My mum,
Mashallah.
she doesn't want me to resign. She wants the MP.
Oh, you're Habib's son, mashallah, Adam.
Mashallah, mashallah.
Are you're saying you want to resign from the Labour Party and join the independent group?
Yes.
I'm sure my two esteemed guests will be very pleased to hear that.
Adam, my brother in Islam, I don't know what to say, anything more than what I'll probably say to you in person. Alhamdulillah, thank you for joining the good fight. And there's never too late in the day. You know where our intentions are for the communities, our communities, and for the Ummah as well. Welcome on board.
Adam, congratulations to you. You know, I'm sure you made the right decision. You thought about this. I heard about that you're having these thoughts about a week and a half ago. But obviously, I know you've been being pulled in two different directions because your mother is a well-known, well-established member of the Labour Party, and so are you a councillor there as well. So you've taken this brave decision, I'm sure, in your case. So may Allah bless you with your whatever decision you've taken, which is to resign from the Labour Party and join the independent group. And obviously, this strengthens your numbers in the council, in the local authority as well, and that will give them even more strength. And you know, I'm sure your mum will come round to your way of thinking at some stage. But thank you, Adam. Thank you for announcing that on my program. But obviously, as I say, the work now begins. And obviously, you've gone through the hard process. You knocked on the doors. You walked the miles, as Tanisha says. Hundreds of hours, non-sleep for nearly 10 weeks, both of you and all of you. Now, obviously, the expectation of the community is going to be huge. Particularly within our community, this thing is not just our community. All sort of voters and all constituents think that, as you are my representative, you have to respond to everything I say. How are you going to manage the expectation of the community? When people, you get calls in the middle of the night. I know people, I was asked to become a councillor in 1976 with a promise to become the first black mayor of Kirklees by well-known, well-established, long-standing members of the Labour Party who are my friends. But I refused because I didn't want calls at 12 o'clock midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning saying that my drain is leaking. So I didn't have the guts to stand, and therefore I never stood. But yeah, the expectations are there. Ali is smiling. Now I'm sure you've already started getting calls like that saying, I've got a pothole in front of my house. What are you going to do about it?
I think it comes down to education. A lot of people are not educated on what a councillor is, what the role is, what it is that we can do. A lot of people don't understand where it is that we're based. If they see Dewsbury in the name, a Dewsbury councillor, they think it's the whole of Dewsbury, and it's just not the case. And I also think making sure that we enable our community and our constituents with the tools that they need. For example, potholes and fly tipping is a basic requirement, but it can also be reported by local people. It doesn't have to go through a councillor, although we're more than happy to push it. So I just think that the empowerment's got to be there. When it comes to service cuts that we've had on a local level, that we talked about earlier, local people can only rely on local people, and I think that's what we're seeing. And I think the local elections definitely evidence that. That's why people want their locals in a chamber.
Because you live in the area, you talk to people, you breathe and live in the area, so you know the challenges that local communities face, don't you?
We know it, but I think what differentiates us between other councillors that may have been there in the past is we are born and raised here. These are our communities. The children in our lives are also being raised in these communities, and so therefore our motivations are them. It's making sure that there's something there, opportunities there for young people, and we genuinely just want to see our area, some of it back to how it used to be, but in other aspects better than what it is now.
Go on, Ali.
Iqbal bhai, I've dealt with 2 cases, I'm dealing with 3 more, and I'm going to be very honest with you. These are actually genuine cases. They may not have fallen under the remit of a councillor on 2 occasions, but they did fall under the role of a community leader. And for these cases to come to me, I kind of feel privileged to say that I've been able to mediate a situation and I've been able to resolve an easy fix situation that was long standing. So look, within there's conversations need to be had when it comes to actual, real, tangible solutions for the community where the funding is not there. I remember being on our training course, and I would have liked for those in the room to have said it a little bit differently. Oh, the budget, it's been allocated. Unfortunately, you can't have a say on that. It was really facetious the way it was said. It would have been nicer for it to be a bit more of a humble approach, which is what all of us in that room were taking. Understandably, we can't have no impact on that. Understandably, we're in a situation that we're in. You know, we need to understand where that situation was born of and how do we avoid that again. And I've stated previously, you know, within the expertise set now, within the acumen, we're able to say that people that have had real life experiences in balancing budgets in their private sector work and being able to prioritize certain things are now in a position to maybe not influence it this year, but inshallah, you know, that is yet to come as well. But how things get moved going forward, we're going to be scrutinizing. And going back to an earlier question that you almost asked, yes, these career politicians, quite possibly so as activists, they will be very soon learning that we're not activists, we're here for the community, and we will hold people to account, including ourselves.
100%.
Now, obviously, you mentioned the budget. Now, Kirklees, as far as I recall, is a £40 million deficit. Bradford is nearly £60 million, and Leeds is quite a lot as well. Now, those are the challenges within which you have to work with. As you say, these budgets have been set before the election, I presume, by the previous administration. Is there, and that is where your challenges are going to appear. Do you feel that there is no manoeuvrability whatsoever where you can redirect the resources, or that you're going to have to wait for a year at least before that redirection can take place?
I mean, the budget's been set. So when it comes to allocation of funds and things like that, no, it's not something that we can touch on in the next 12 months. However, that's not our job. Our job and our role is to scrutinise, it's to hold accountability, and it's to try and find a way forward. We knew prior to the elections and even during our political campaigns that budget had already been set. We knew what we were going to be met with. We knew the challenges. So it's not a shock to us once we've been elected that this is the current situation. But I feel like the people that we have in at the moment, the people that have been elected in at the moment, fresh blood, youth, people coming in from the outside for the first time ever, a fresh set of eyes. We do things in a different way.
The reason why I focus on the budget, because as I say, people will now expect changes. People would like to see change in the way services are delivered, maybe even improve the services or restore some of the services that are not being. And they may not be aware how sort of the budgets have been set for a whole 12 months. So their expectation is, you've come in, you can do everything now. But that's what I want them to understand. That in some cases, it is beyond your control now, is it?
Yeah, but I think that, again, that education, that empowerment's got to come from us. And I also think working with our council officers and that engagement, because from one thing that I'm seeing, I don't know if you're seeing it, but in my ward, there's definitely a barrier when it comes to council and residents, huge barrier. The relationship's not what it was anymore. So it's about rebuilding that relationship with council, and the only way to do that is effective communication and consultation. Which
How are you going to start communicating with your local constituents?
the same way I always have.
Newspapers or
Door
leaflets,
knocking.
door knocking. Because they used to hold regular surgeries. After COVID, that sort of came to an end, basically.
Yeah.
The surgery is selective.
Right.
The surgery is selective. That is kind of like the real go-to, making yourself public, whether it's social media, especially Facebook, in the community that you're in. The groups, now Tunisia is blessed with doing all the hard work historically, where you've got how much of a following?
We
Well,
have.
she had
we-
a following of
we have-
100,000 last time she was on my program.
We have, me and my team, the fantastic people that are behind me again, we have collectively, I think it's just under 250,000 now
Oh my goodness.
on all social media channels. But
Well, I
again,
remember when he came on our program, he was saying, well, I've got 100,000 followers.
I do think, again, it's that approach and having that different type of approach and that perspective and being able to utilise social media and also being able to utilise, like Ali's just spoke about, ward surgeries and things like that. It's definitely something that's in our to-do list. We're already announcing our 6-month ward surgeries, I'm sure you are. It's about being active. And one thing that I am learning is residents aren't actually asking for much. They're asking us to do our basic job description
Right.
and just listen. Some of them just want you to listen.
By and large, when we talk about the budget cut, the budget deficit, the no budget, the residents are already aware of this. All they are simply saying is, we've been neglected, and they just want to know, they just want to be in on the picture. What does the future look like?
They want somebody to be honest and tell them the truth.
Precisely. These are the sort of conversations that we're having. I promise you there's people out there who you just wouldn't think when you're having that conversation, they're actually already aware. Now, there is some micro level issues that need to be addressed, which is really good, given the fact that there's an understanding when it comes to what's universal to everybody, there isn't a budget. What's unique to everybody, we're there to listen and we can act upon it as well. Because really, we're not stretching ourselves. So, you know, if we're talking about 4-5 cases that I've had in this time, I'm not really stretching myself, you know. I can easily manage that, and you've dealt with a lot more than that, Lisa.
Yeah, I'm not going to get onto my casework,
I'm sure you will. As I know, I mean, councillors get all sorts of phone calls
Yeah.
all times of the day with also the weird and wonderful
It
sort of
is.
issues that people raise with them. You know, there's no doubt about that. And that's the test at the end of the day, whether the constituents feel that they've been listened to or not. You may not be able to solve the problem, but the feeling that they feel that you listened to them, that in itself may provide some reassurance. I mean, that's my historic learning from my days in local government.
No, I agree.
As you know, that I worked for a very long time. Now, obviously, you know, as we progress, we're now going to come, hopefully, before the end of the year, a general election, right? And obviously, the result from the local election. Are you looking forward to translating that result into the general election? So, do you want to work collectively to see, because Batley and Dewsbury have been merged into one constituency. At the moment, we don't have a sitting MP, so it's virtually a brand new sort of constituency. So, are you looking to work towards other people in the community to try and find an independent candidate to stand at the parliamentary level?
Of course we are.
Right.
Of course we are.
We'd be wrong not to.
Right.
Of course we are. We're having important conversations. There's coordination taking place. There's a strategy that's being built, and there's a collective approach, and partnerships are being made in relevant areas. People across from Dewsbury and Batley are absolutely fed up. And before I was a councillor, I'm grassroots, and I need someone elected that I can engage with, someone that I know's got the community's best interests at heart, and that's all local people are asking for. So, of course we are. Dewsbury and Batley took a landslide of victories.
There's no doubt about it.
So to not jump on this politically would be a very, very silly thing for us to do. So, of course, conversations are taking place, and the people that need to be a part of those conversations are a part of them. And at the heart of it and leading it will be young people in the community.
There's quadrants of the community that are astute enough to understand that you know, we stood for Gaza. Whilst we stood for Gaza, and the way I call ourselves as sleeper cells, when the situation arises, and if there's a motion, and if we need to vote, we will absolutely do so. That's not just for Gaza, that's for any humanity. And the rest of it is our casework within our local community. But those astute enough have said, look, where the real influence will be are the MPs that have let us down. And again, they've cited the Labour MPs that have let us down when it mattered the most. So we've often said that we have gotten behind, you know, BAME of Muslim, you know, male and female, people that became MPs, By the time they've gone to Westminster, they've not represented the views of the communities that put them there. And this is a time that we're going to say, look, this is what we're here for, and we will continue, and I call it the good fight, because that's what it is. Cross sections of the world, cross communities are looking at people that are going to actually represent those that are downtrodden to the point that we're now.
I mean, I was at the event that you were in. I was sort of master of ceremonies, hosted the event on behalf of my friend Nazir Raja, who you know quite well, and I said that the young people, the community, not just young people, we live in a free democratic society. One of the beauties of living in this country, in the United Kingdom, is that we believe in the fundamental principle of, everybody has the right to vote. And on this occasion, people exercised their right to vote and decided to vote for something that other people, the political parties, were not expecting. So I'm sure you're hoping that that same sentiment and feeling will translate into the local general election as well, whenever it's been called. But I mean, do you feel that, particularly our community, can distinguish between a local election and local services and national election and the importance of a national representation? Because sometimes I feel that some people don't distinguish between the two. Have you come across that at a local level?
If they didn't, they do now.
Right.
That I can promise you. That I can promise you, because what's needed is that noise created. What's needed is that movement, that force, and then what happens, it's like a snowball effect. Those that weren't aware, they are now aware. They are singing from the same book as everybody else who was. So the information is getting out there, and alhamdulillah, that is what it's going to take to be able to get everybody on board, to be able to then look at the bigger picture as well. And again, it's not just us. I really want to echo this. Thank you to everybody who's gone and done these marches week in, week out. And a massive thank you to the students of all of the universities that have taken place. We watched your views, your videos, or the lack of your views when it comes to Suella Braverman. You guys have been absolutely amazing. We're learning off you guys as well, and I just wish the political classes also learned of you guys. You guys are humanity.
Just before you started talking, I just put that my next sort of topic was going to be young people. Obviously, it's the young people who've driven this change forward. They have gone out there passionately, and I know some of the people who are working on your campaign, for example.
In your campaign.
In Heckman and in Zahid's campaign, there's a very young people who previously I've never seen them engage in politics. Now they're going to be fundamental to the next stage, which is the general election. How confident are you that you can maintain that strength of emotion that young people still have or have displayed at this moment in time, come to the time when the general election, whenever that takes place? Is that going to be dependent on certain factors, like what happens in Israel, in the Middle East, or do you feel that young people are now much more educated, as you say, much more aware that they feel that in order to bring about change, they need to actually get engaged in politics more so than they have done in the past, regardless of what happens in the Middle East?
I think this generation of young people learn from a very young age that if they follow and do as they're told, it's not going to get them anywhere. That's politically and even in life. They've had the odds stacked against them from the moment they've been born, through the education system, lack of opportunities, depending on postcodal areas, lack of jobs. A lot of our generation and younger, my brother's generation, they're not going to be able to get on the property market or anything like that. So they've had to fend for themselves. So listening to what they've been told to do has never worked. So they've had to become educated in their own way. They've had to become empowered in their own groupings, and they've always had to fight. And when it came to this humanitarian crisis that we are seeing in Gaza, they cannot understand some of their elders that they hold in high regard and have nothing but respect for and will always show respect to. But what they can't understand is, how are you still not advocating and doing the right thing? Just because you've always done something the same way should tell you nothing's changed, and therefore it's time to go down a different avenue. And if you're not going to do it, then we're going to do it. And that's exactly what they've done. So I think maintaining that relationship with our youth and making sure that they know that they're always going to have a platform with us, they're always going to have an opportunity to speak with us, they're always going to be at the forefront of our campaigns, and they're going to be alongside us, not behind us. That's the difference. So maintaining and keeping those relationships is a priority.
Do you know, just an interesting point, it's not the fact that we're speaking the voice of our young people. The young people are speaking that voice. Or did I say that wrong?
No, it's their voice.
It's their voice,
that's
basically.
feeding you.
And tomorrow, we just need to empower them, for them to come forward, not to leave that half generation in between that has already happened.
Okay, I mean, obviously the young people are the future of our nation. There's no doubt about it, both in terms of the economic sort of growth of the country, as well as the political sort of shape of the country as it moves forward. Now, the likelihood, obviously, is, a lot of people may not expect this or want this, rather, the likelihood that there's going to be a change in government. Because there's such a huge sort of despondency with the current Tory party, and the polls show that. Now, we know that the Labour Party are likely to win the next general election, most likely.
Yeah.
They may lose a few seats, but my understanding is, talking to some people who are very close to the various, the hierarchy in the Labour Party, is that they are willing to sacrifice some seats because they feel that they might win some of the red wall seats that they lost last time in this country. And therefore, the balance of power, they can afford to lose 20, 30 seats. Do you feel that this movement can make a substantial shift in that? And it's not just the Muslim community. There's a lot of non-Muslim people as well who feel disenfranchised by both political parties. How do we then capture that emotion?
Well, the reason for our existence, there's always a why story. And the reason of our why story is Labour is so far to the right that they're the Tories. The Tories are so far to the right that they are what would have been reform. And then you get further to the right, which is reform. And what's the shift here is everybody, and like you said, is disenfranchised, not just with the Tories for their failings. Labour are going to, of course, step into them shoes, and then they're going to shrug their shoulders. There's no money in the pot. What do we do now? And they're going to start blaming 4 years' worth of failings on Tories. Tories and Labour are going to blame reform for some right-wing views. Realistically, those independents and those that represent what Labour was are the ones that are going to bring some sense and sensibility into these corridors of power, because that's what the students want, that's what the youth want, that's what the working class want, that's what the ones who are having to go to food banks want, that's the ones that are sitting, lying in shop doors because they've got no housing. We are so disconnected from reality, or shall I say the working class have got nowhere to turn to because they are so disconnected from reality, other political classes, that this is a vacuum that's going to get created. There's a vacuum at this end, which is, the left, and there's going to be a right vacuum that's created as well. Somewhere someone will have to see sense and bring it back into control. But how long will that take?
I mean, that's a $64,000 question.
$64,000.
And that's why I'm saying, over the next 6 months or whatever time we've got left before the Prime Minister announces the next general election, I think obviously a lot of commentators saying he's waiting to see if the economy turns a little bit, then he feels that he may be able to give some tax giveaways, and therefore he stands a better chance of succeeding. We don't know what's going to happen. But the next general election is going to be absolutely crucial moving forward, not just for the United Kingdom, but also the United Kingdom's foreign policy in relation not just to the Middle East, but other places as well. So my sort of thoughts are, how do we make sure that we retain this passion that has been created over the last 3, 6, 8 months to move forward to the next general election? Now, I know you, 250,000 young sort of followers in your case, and I don't even have a quarter, never mind a whole person. I'm not on social media, and I'm not, people who probably want to see me at all. So how do you keep those people enthralled all the time? It's going to be difficult task, isn't it?
No, I don't think so, because people are facing hardships every single day. So the current situation, the cost of living crisis, the energy crisis, if they're not going through something, they know someone that is, or they're supporting or they're helping someone that is. So that motivation and that passion is going to sustain itself. I also think locally, when it comes to the elected leaders, that falls on our shoulders. It's about the work that we put in over the next few months. And what people see us doing, you know, within our remit and within our powers. So is there work to be done? Yes. Do we have to make sure that we're constantly engaging? Yes, but again, we already do that anyway. So we're not going out of our way to do something different. I think that when it comes to the current situation that we're in, politically, people are so disheartened. Locally, there's children starving. Across the world, we're seeing atrocities and nobody standing up when they should do and speaking out. In our eyes and in our heads, what have we got to lose when it comes to standing up and protesting our vote, whether that's through, you know, a different avenue or campaigning differently or asking your family to vote differently? What have we got to lose? Nothing, because they've taken everything. Locally, they've taken everything. Nationally, they've taken everything. And when we look to the future in a general election, like you've just said, even if we, you know, completely just don't talk about Dewsbury and Batley at the moment and we talk about the overall setting of things, the likelihood is there is going to be a massive change in government and we are going to see Labour step in to where the Conservatives are right now. And what do we have to look forward to? Nothing. This is the
So
party.
both of you feel that Labour Party has lost its traditional roots, is it?
Labour was set up on the back of
touch
trade
about
unions.
the working class people.
100%. Labour was set up on the back of trade unionists. Keir Starmer waged a war on trade unionists. When it came to the issue and his stance on Palestine, he turned his back, and Labour turned their back on the support they've always had from the Muslim community, who put their faith in them. A lot of people found their home in politics in Labour, and it's been a very, very hard for a lot of people to, like I said, change their vote. So I don't ever think Labour will be able to reclaim that and build that trust in those people again, especially under this current leadership.
Just one sentence
go on.
before you.
Yeah, go on.
If Keir Hardie could see the BAME community,
Keir Starmer.
Keir Hardie
Yeah,
could
sorry.
see the BAME community,
You're
I'm
going
going way
historically.
back.
You're going historically.
I'm
many,
going
many,
historical.
Yep.
He would be proud of us. He would not be proud of Keir Starmer
Right.
by a long stretch of the imagination. That's the only thing I want to say. In relation to
Obviously, both of you are saying that the Labour, in your own words, that in your opinion, in the opinion of many, many people, including myself, I mean, as I've said this before, I joined the Labour Party, you know, in the 70s and was a member of the Labour Party for 45 years. I worked at every election from the day one of our, who's now Lord, oh God, I forgot his name. He's just slipped off. I had it in my mind. Who was our member of Parliament in the 70s, and he was deselected. He lost the election to Mrs. Peacock at that time. Mr. Woolmer, he was our MP. You were not even born then, so I'm not sure why you're going. Yes, I know. But he was, and I worked at his last general election sort of campaign, ticking all the registers in the office, making sure that every person in the street had come out in our community. And at the end of the day, he says to me, "So your community let me down." And I said, "Let me show you the sheets." And virtually 90% of the Asian community had gone to vote. And I showed him the sheets of the white community areas where less than 30% had gone out in some cases. I said, "There you are, you've got the evidence there, who has lost you the election." But yeah, I mean, obviously, the Chinese proverb which says, "May you live in interesting times." Some people say it's a curse. But obviously, you've come into politics at the time when virtually the country is bankrupt at the moment in time. And, you know, the challenges facing both of you are quite substantial and enormous. So I wish you all the best. And I'm sure our viewers wish you all the best as well. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for sharing this. I'm sure we'll be coming back to this because I know Ali Islam and his colleagues who won the election in Bradford, I'm going to talk to them at some stage. Inshallah, in the next few weeks, I'll be talking about other issues away from the election, away from some of the politics, because I'm sure you probably are fed up of it by now. But can I just say thank you to Adam Zaman for ringing in and publicly today declaring that he'll be resigning from the Labour Party and joining, you know, these colleagues and others who form the independent group on Kirklees Council. May Allah bless you and bless these guys and anybody who wants to take up the challenge of getting into politics at this time. We know we live in very difficult and challenging times. I hope you enjoy the program. Inshallah, as I say, over the next few weeks I'll be talking about health and education, also about Muslim foster carers and the challenges of Islamophobia. And maybe we'll be talking about, does the Labour Party want to win back the vote of the Muslim community and those non-Muslim people who are also disenfranchised by Labour? And what do they want, what do they have to do? And will that wash with the community? As Tanisha and Ali says, at the moment the damage has been done, and it's possible that that might not succeed. So I hope you keep following us. I'll be here next week, and then we'll be away during the period of Eid al-Adha, and then inshallah I'll be away for Umrah after that. So I might see you in July. Take care. Assalamu alaikum. Please make dua for all of us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.